watch a show like Shark Tank or a newer show like Food Fortunes on Food Network, I believe it's on tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Pacific time, you may have thought, hey, even if the folks who are judging these new ventures don't like to make a bet on them, maybe I'd like to. Well, very soon, maybe sooner than you think, you may get that chance when you watch a new business venture to actually invest in it. It's a unique form of crowdfunding, a topic we have covered on this program for the last few years. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce you before we get to our guest, let's introduce you to the Startup Hour.
Are you an entrepreneur looking for funding and users? Are you an investor looking for easy access to viable business opportunities? What if there was a new platform that connects both using new mobile technology, television and streaming that is not only revolutionary, but highly engaging and entertaining? The Startup Hour asked the same question.
During 3 decades of working with, mentoring, and running startups and researching entrepreneurs and startup communities, tens of thousands of hours later, this was the common thread that we heard.
The Startup Hour utilizes brand new mobile technology with the American Jobs Act to give both startups the access they need to funding and valuable resources they have never had before, and the average person the ability to own a piece of the American dream. The Startup Hour does all of that in a unique, highly entertaining hour-long show, surrounded closely by a number of engaging interactive components. This is a new reality experience. On other reality shows, the viewers really have no vested interest or ability to track what happens to the entrepreneurs after the show. The Startup Hour is exactly the opposite. The nation is truly invested in how each show's funded companies perform. Even if you're not able to make an equity investment, you can still join the company's mobile website, participate in crowdfunding events, and stay engaged with the company for years to come. A nation of viewers will be able to not only watch, but also participate in the show.
The opportunity for everyday Americans to get involved with funding the next innovations coming out of all these entrepreneurs, that's what's exciting about the show. Being able to be part of the innovation, not just watching it from the side.
Through groundbreaking mobile technology, using their mobile and web-enabled devices, viewers will be able to actually take a deeper dive into the companies by seeing Excel spreadsheets, projections, interviews, valuations, and the like. And if the viewers act fast enough, they can participate in equity crowdfunding investments in the companies featured on the show through a new technology called text investing. So we present the ultimate interaction between contestants and viewers. With the help of our partners, companies like Microsoft, Marriott, and The Hub, the Startup Hour will quickly become one of the fastest growing reality TV shows on television. The show starts filming in March with a tour of 8 cities known for their highly active entrepreneurial culture. Entrepreneurs from all over the country are invited to come pitch their business vision and plan. Production starts in Austin, Texas at the South by Southwest Interactive Festival this March 13th through 15th. Founders interested in being featured on the show can register for the pitch sessions and see the other tour dates at www.thestartuphour.com. Each pitch is filmed up to 3 minutes in length. All the pitches are then compiled, and a panel of highly accomplished and successful entrepreneurs will meet in San Francisco to review the pitches. The judges will select the top 50 startups to be featured in Season 1. This is where the real magic kicks in. Each week, 6 companies will go head-to-head and present their business models in front of a national audience and a panel of highly esteemed judges. The judges work to break down and analyze the startups presented by the entrepreneur, leaving no detail to chance. The judges will pull from their knowledge and experience to offer feedback and challenge each entrepreneur.
Our focus is really the emerging markets where we're noticing more and more middle-class consumers coming.
The winner of each show will be decided by the judges. Additionally, The entrepreneur who raises the most money in the shortest amount of time for their startup from the viewers will be crowned the week's fastest funded. The entire scope of television's entertainment future is about to change.
And joining us live in our studio, one of the people you just heard and saw, the creator and executive producer of the Startup Hour, Jonathan Block. Jonathan, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us in. Appreciate
And thank you for
it.
the extra time.
And congratulations on your 6 going into 7. That's very exciting.
Thank you very much. It's really an honor and a great treat. And of course, you don't do it alone. You do it with the people we have here at Brooklyn Independent Media and our listeners who've been around, some of them for a long time, almost from the start.
That's what it's all about.
So thank you
Having
for
a
the
good team.
acknowledgement. How'd you get started with Startup Hour? What made you start it up?
So let's see. I was working out of a co-working place here in New York called WeWork, and simultaneously had a spot in Kansas City, and working out of some co-working places there as well. Kansas City was a draw for me because Google Fiber, which is a new product of theirs actually as of a few years ago, but they haven't really rolled it out in too many markets, and it essentially means that folks are on internet speeds of 100 times faster than what we're on now. So it's actually kind of like the difference between dial-up and what we're experiencing now. So
And it's also an alternative to the local cable operator as well, because they offer video, they offer internet, they offer phone service, triple play.
It's amazing. It's really unbelievable, and the quality is it's revolutionary and changing the way people watch, people search what they're going to watch, and a lot of things. So was attracted to that because being an innovator, wanted to kind of get on the ground floor of what's going on there, and did so, forged a lot of great relationships in both cities, and really, obviously, the out of the gate, one of the hardest things for startups to actually secure is funding to actually accelerate their ideas and their business plans. So before I even knew what the Jobs Act was, I started working on this about 3.5, 4 years ago. Was able to pull in some really great partners like Microsoft and Marriott and a few other really strong companies, other third-party providers that really believed in what we were up to, and so it's been a culmination of a lot of effort and putting together the right components of the right teams, right people like you got around here, yeah, we're very excited. What we've created really is, a tool that bridges the funding community and the startups. And if you live in the middle of the country, it's quite difficult to get relationships and get to know angel investors and venture capitalists and so forth. So it's very challenging, and actually tens of thousands of these small early stage companies actually go out of business daily. So there is a real need for this kind of technological bridge.
And for many companies who want to get involved and create the next generation of television, whether you want to be a new television network, whether you want to be a new television production company, a smart TV app, a video-on-demand technology company, ultra-high, et cetera, it has become way challenging because, as we have showcased on our program over the years, Jonathan, the venture capital, the angel investor, the incubator and accelerator community, with some exception, basically does not care about television.
They don't understand television. They don't know television. They know other things.
But it's like they understand smartphones, they understand tablets, so when those devices came out, voila, everybody jumped in with venture capital money for apps. But why is it, for example, when smart TVs come out, whether it's from Samsung or LG or Vizio, or devices like Roku and Google Chromecast and Amazon Fire TV that make a TV set smart, why don't we see that jumping in?
We don't yet, but we will soon. Actually, I come out of the record business, and what's happening in television now is not that dissimilar from what has happened, over the years to the music industry. What we're seeing is the networks actually becoming, I don't want to say less important because they'll always be important, just like the major labels will be in music, but in the music industry, the independent labels are actually taking more and more of the market share. So that's happening with television when we have a lot of different alternatives for broadcasting. And the venture capitalist community will catch on. It's just such a different world that they don't understand production and broadcasting, so there's going to be a learning curve. But as the television industry changes, I think there'll be more incorporation of something that we're using a lot, which is referred to as second and third screens. So we have weaved and incorporated other content into the narratives of the show naturally, and that's why we're partners with Microsoft. It's a very natural partnership because we're weaving a lot of their a lot of their products and goods and services into the infrastructure of the television program. So when you're watching the television, you can grab your smartphone or your iPad or your Surface or your laptop computer and actually see Excel spreadsheets and other information, interviews and PowerPoints and other content about the actual startups that you're seeing on the TV screen.
Before we get to what your show does, talk about why you are a believer in crowdfunding, because at the same time we have seen the apathy from the venture capital and angel, et cetera, side of things. We've seen more and more people try to use crowdfunding as a way to get at least foundation funding or seed funding for what they're doing, whether it is for a show, whether it is for a pilot, whether it's for a smart TV app. They're using Indiegogo, they're using Kickstarter, they're using other websites to do it. Why did you decide to become a believer in crowdfunding?
Well, I actually started putting these together before I even knew what crowdfunding was or what the Jobs Act was. We'll get to the Jobs Act in a little bit. But I'm a believer in crowdsourcing, so pulling together multiple groups of individuals to actually invest smaller amounts of money, sometimes larger, it depends, to really accelerate early stage companies, because it is so challenging, it is so difficult to secure funding from venture capital. So any kind of technology that can bridge it is something that's to be very helpful. Unfortunately, the Jobs Act has many different levels, many different divisions, and many different titles and so forth, and it's very difficult to navigate those waters. So hopefully our technology will be able to help a lot of these founders out there that have heard about how great it is but don't really know the actual necessary steps to take and forms to fill out, of which there are many. So it depends on certain tiers and so forth, how much paperwork's involved, how much money you're raising, what levels, what ceilings, etc. But for us, Title III is kind of the main part of the Jobs Act that we are focused on right now.
And that's the Equity Crowdfunding Act that the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has been debating what rules to adopt for the last almost 2 years.
Correct. So they made a pretty shocking announcement and ruling about a month ago, which none of us in the industry really saw coming. We thought it was about a year, maybe a year and a half away. And essentially what they're doing is changing about 80-year-old laws that until now have restricted investing in startups to what's known as accredited investors. So an accredited investor are folks that have $1 million in the bank, $1 million in the bank, or $1 million of value aside from their main residence, or they make $200,000 a year or $300,000 combined household income. So there's about 11 million of those folks in the country. So what the SEC is doing, and they're in the process of it. A lot of people in the equity crowdfunding world think that they know actually what is going to be the case. No one really knows it until it goes into the Federal Register, which is kind of the Bible, and will dictate really what goes on. No one actually knows how it's going to roll out, let's just say. So it's going to go from 11 million to about 230 million folks that will be able to participate in fueling and seeding these early stage startup companies.
Is it going to be an immediate go ahead, do it, or is it going to be rolled out to certain groups, certain levels, then throughout anybody who can do it over time?
It will be more of a rollout because of the details and the steps and the many components that are in the Jobs Act. So it's not going to happen in a snap of the fingers. They say it's going to go live in a couple months. It'll take a few more months to really roll out after that.
We're speaking with Jonathan Block. He is the creator and executive producer of the Startup Hour, a new syndicated show where you, the viewer, will have an opportunity to actually invest, not just watch, but invest in new business ventures. So Jonathan, how does the Startup Hour work?
So there's 6 companies per show every week, or whenever the show, how often the show airs. Basically, our format and our whole approach to this is completely opposite to that of Shark Tank. Not to diss Shark Tank, because they certainly are a very popular, successful show. In fact, they're the #1 show for families to watch in America together, which I think is a great thing. But yeah, we present six startups. One is going to be a little kind of zany, maybe a little off of the not off color, but certainly a little different, but very fundable and very strong companies nonetheless. And we have a very exciting format. I don't want to give too much out today, but let's just say it's really dramatic, very exciting, and I think people are going to get a real kick out of it.
And you held events, Jonathan, around the country to elicit startups. I'm curious if any television startups were in the mix.
There were a few, actually, a few with new kind of next generation means of broadcasting and simulcasting and some really strong companies. We have data on over 300. We actually interviewed and filmed pitches of about a little over 125 in 8 different markets around the country, and we're really impressed with the founders and the business visions and the problems that they're solving. I'd say about 85% were really strong and very impressive, very fundable, and like I said, solving really important problems. So
now, you had intended to premiere the show on Ides of May 15th, and you actually had gotten some stations to run the show in prime time, including, I believe, some network affiliates.
Yes, we've been approved to do that via the Hearst, some of the Hearst stations around the country, and we're still in discussions with Hearst, but since the ruling went down about a month ago, while we were on that tour, actually, it's opened up our potential to really, reach a lot more people. So we're actually in discussions with a bunch of folks as to what that's going to look like. But then the reality TV awards are May 13th, so we certainly wouldn't want to compete with them. Obviously,
although you would have gone 2 days after.
Oh, they're not on the 13th?
Right, they're on the 13th. You were going to go on the 15th.
No, we were on the 13th.
Oh, you were on the 15th
Wednesday
also?
night, yep. But anyway, we will not be debuting then. We will be debuting some months after that.
Do you plan to self-syndicate the show, or do you want to have a syndicator like Warner Brothers or Viacom or CBS TV Distribution, or even a small, like a Litton, somebody do that part of the situation for you?
That's a great question. We want to reach as much of the country as possible now. When we first set out, and our model to roll this out was a bit smaller than what we're thinking now. So, obviously we want to get to as many households as possible. So a network is really what we're looking towards right now.
And there's certain things you're asking the station to do. If you must run this, if you take our show, you must run this in prime time, or you must run this in a good place that the most people can watch it.
We're pretty much slotted for a 9 p.m. Central Wednesday night.
Which would be 10 o'clock Eastern.
Correct. And that's what we're looking at, and that's the night we're definitely that we want.
And when you go on, would Microsoft be a sponsor? Would some of the other companies that have been supporting you behind the scenes also get advertising time?
Yes, Microsoft is our lead sponsor. They've been working with us over 2 years, so they're a sponsor of the show. We also have a technology relationship with them because we are actually featuring PowerPoint and a lot of their products, Excel spreadsheet. Cortana, quite a few Microsoft projects. Very happy with the way that company has really, new CEO has really brought that company out of the basement and into the attic. I mean, they're really doing really well. So it's exciting.
So explain the process by which I, let's say, being the viewer, watching one of these ventures, and I'm excited by what they do, and I want to give this a shot, I want to invest. How do I make my investment happen?
Great question. So hopefully you will have registered with the show prior to actually watching it, because it does take about 24 hours, sometimes a little longer, and we are working on making that time allotment shorter. But it takes a little while to get registered and accredited, those folks that are accredited investors. So once you're registered and in the system, basically we have come up with some technology, IP technology that is called text investing, and it's a 5-step process to get accredited and a 4-step process once you are accredited or registered with the show to actually get an approved investment in. So if you like the founder, if you like the business vision, and you're interested in participating and investing in the show, well, you can take a look simultaneously while the show's on or after the show at and take a deeper dive into that company. You can see, as I said earlier, the Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints and other interviews they may have done, and get to know the founders a little more deeply than you are during the time allotment on the show. And then you'll be able to actually text in your investment. Other folks will be able to, text and vote for their favorite show. So we're really looking to do what you guys are doing here. We're making it interactive and making the viewers part of what's going on. So.
And how much can you make in an investment with this? Is there a cutoff, or is there a minimum? Is there a maximum?
That all depends on the tier of the Jobs Act that they're taking part in. In some cases, there won't be a maximum minimum situation. In some cases, there will. It really depends on which level that the startup has enacted.
There's also another factor here, because we've seen a bunch of states pass equity crowdfunding rules in their jurisdiction. So how do the state rules apply to your show?
So that's a great question. Again, it depends on the level that they're enacting and using in their campaigns. In some cases, they have to be registered with every state prior to making a public offering. In other cases, they don't. And in some cases, there's a private offering, so you can only direct people to a destination, and only those folks that are accredited will be able to see that information. So, as I said earlier, a lot of different levels. It's very complex.
Jonathan Block from the Startup Hour is our guest this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Simon Applebaum here with you live from New York as Tomorrow Be Televised kicks off year number 7 on Blog Talk Radio. We are the only internet radio program or podcast that's available and simulcast live on television through Brooklyn Independent Media. And Jonathan's ready to take your phone calls and your chat room reaction on his venture. So give us that call, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name, our good friend Rick Webb already in the room. One of the things that I wonder when you watch a show like Shark Tank, or Food Forge, I mentioned, which is currently on Food Network, is that when people present their ventures, it's almost like you're presenting before a Judge Judy or a people's court. You have to make your case in order to get the investment. Is there anybody that works with, on your staff, let's say, works with these potential companies to debrief them on, like, here's how you make the best case, here's the documentation you need, here are the specific facts you need to present?
So yeah, due to rules and regulations, we don't actually take part in the actual coaching of these startups founders, but third parties are able to do so and will be doing so to help them along that process. One of the hardest things to do for a lot of these founders is to actually pitch their business. It's a skill, and it requires a lot of practice, and quite frankly, it's tough, and not a lot of guys that are, or women that are founders, are really that great at it out of the gate, so it does take training.
And speaking of people getting involved, did you find a lot of women, a lot of women of color, people of color getting involved, coming to your showcases to get a shot on Startup Hour?
We did. There were certain little pockets of the country, like Kansas City, the women saved the day. African Americans.
What do you mean by women save the day?
Save the day because Kansas City was a little slow to the gate, slow to really get attracted to what we were doing. So we weren't really stirring up enough dust there. We didn't have a lot of submissions prior to going in there, but we were able to kick up the community and get them a little riled up, and we got a lot of female founders, actually, and they were great.
In a way, you had to make your case that you were going to be the vehicle to help give a head start to these ventures. So how did you prove your case? Like, say, trust me to give you a proper national showcase for your product.
Sure. So yeah, that's a very good point. We did, press releases and interviews, and got picked up in local business papers, television, online television blogs, and so forth. Different magazines and a couple television stations around the country. So bit by bit, we got the word out, and we put together a great website called, thestartuphour.com. Really explains what's going on well, and it's not easy because there's a lot of components going on.
We have a call, Jonathan. We're going to take it. Hello, you're on Tomorrow Be Televised. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is David. I'm calling from the Midwest.
David, great to have you on the program. You're on the line with Jonathan Block of the Startup Hour. Go ahead.
What's up, David?
Yeah, Jonathan Blocker. Hey, how you doing, man? I heard you mention Kansas City. I'm really excited because we are considered, I don't know if you read the Times article about the millennials moving down this way because of Google Fiber and the things you mentioned. And so it seems to me that what you're doing is ahead of the curve. And I'm just curious to know, in terms of investors, are you still looking? How can one invest if they're really, really seriously interested?
So, great question, David. Kansas City is actually near and dear to me. I base my businesses out of Kansas City. I have a great team there that runs the day-to-day and so forth. But Kansas City has some of the best technologists really in the world. So we're excited to be a part of that city. And not just Google Fiber, but Cisco is actually turning Kansas City into the world's third smart city. So Barcelona and Nice are presently the two smart cities on the planet, and Kansas City will be the largest. So they'll put a microchip in pretty much everything that needs some kind of interaction or human interaction. So it'll be very exciting. I think Kansas City will be the next kind of Austin, Texas, next popular place. They have a cool problem, though. It's a problem when the coolest guy in town is your mayor. So they have a really cool mayor named Sly James. But answer to your question, right. David, are we looking for investors? Yes, we are. That's a big piece of what we're about. If there's no one out there investing, then we're not going to be able to fund any startups. So in order for our technology to work, we need folks that are interested in investing and having an opportunity to participate.
Dave from the Midwest.
That information will be at the website, right? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
What's that?
I said the information too, if you're interested in that, the information will be at the website.
Yeah, the startuphour.com will take you through the whole, for investors and for startups, explain, pretty much every step along the way.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you for calling.
Dave from the Midwest, thanks for the call and the contribution. Appreciate it.
You bet.
And if you want to follow David from the Midwest, all you have to do is give us the ring, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. Monday on the program, NBC and Fox will announce their fall season previews that day here in New York. We will have the details. As and before, in the case of Fox, they happen. That's all coming up on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Where else did you go beside Kansas City to find the startups?
So we went to Boston. We were really impressed with the Boston companies, actually. Here in New York, we spent a couple days at WeWork in the West Village. Down in Orlando, Florida, they blew us away. I think we had about 20 companies down there, really, really strong ones. We started off in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest, spent a couple days there, a few days actually. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we were sponsored by the University of Pittsburgh Entrepreneurial Program, which is a very strong program and known nationally. And then Sacramento was really, really strong as well. San Francisco and New York, I have to say, were a little apathetic, but we managed to, again, rustle the feathers up.
Pittsburgh, incidentally, has a venture that we highlighted last fall in this program called Max My TV, which is a way to do home automation on television, the ability to control other devices, whether it's your lights, your air conditioning, your microwave oven, the front door, et cetera, over your television set.
So that's referred to in technology as Internet of Things. It's huge. It's going to be very, as it rolls out in the next coming years, it's more and more people will be using these types of devices and this type of technology to control different areas of their home. So it's very exciting.
We've had over the years a lot of crowd-funded projects that use Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Some of them got the funding. Some of them did not. Some of them got the funding and then they've not come to life. The pilot never became a television series, or the technology venture never made it to national attention. Do some people think of crowdfunding as the be-all and end-all and forget that it's one thing to get the money, it's another thing to turn the money into an actual living, breathing project?
Sure. So that's those two sites are what's known as rewards-based crowdfunding. So our portal will have a rewards-based side as well, but the equity piece, the equity crowdfunding, is really what we're all about. So we vet them kind of unofficially through a series of question and answers and different documents that they need to fill out in order for us to take a look at them, and we pretty much know pretty quickly who's really going to be looking like a very strong company. In actuality, with the equity crowdfunding, there needs to be a registered broker-dealer that actually, they're the ones that really do the offering, so they are the ones that actually will pick and choose what companies that we will be offering.
Why did it take so long for the SEC to pass these rules when it looked like everybody from President Obama to every legislative person you could think of was for it?
That's a great question. I think some of the folks on the panel at the SEC were very for it, and there was a couple that were very against it. So I think they just butted heads, and it's so complex and complicated that it just took them a long time. But like I said earlier, we were surprised that they did do this vote and announce this about a month ago. So it's changed the game for the entire industry. But I think, you know, it's interesting because in music there's copyright laws that are changing now that are about 75 years old. So here in investing, these laws are about 80 years old, and I have a weird bit of kind of synchronistic thing going on with this because this actually shows a little bit, I'm a little out of touch with my family history. I thought my grandfather had started the World Bank, but gentleman, my mother's father named Wallace Fulton, actually founded NASD in the 30s, and NASD became NASDAQ and is now morphed into FINRA, which is the governing body of crowdfunding and crowd investing. So I didn't realize that till a couple of years ago. It was about a year and a half, 2 years into the development of this. So that was a little bit of a surprise. But you know, it takes a long time to filter through these things. It's not cut and dry. It's not an easy process. That's why we're looking to solve a lot of, you know, problems and answer a lot of questions for folks out there with our technology.
There's so many people in this city and around the country, especially women and people of color, who want to create the next generation of television or be part of it in some way. What impact will equity crowdfunding have in making that real?
I think, you know, shows like ours and other offerings on the internet will be able to fuel people, creative folks, folks that are involved in any kind of creative works whatsoever, be that television or film or music or writing, etc. And, you know, our tool that we're creating, not just for startups, we're going to roll it out into the music industry and some of the other industries, as you mentioned. So I think as time goes on and this becomes a little bit of an easier process and technology can answer some of these questions and kind of hold the hand along the process, it's only going to increase not just creative folks, but, you know, it'll increase the jobs in our country, the jobs around the world, and, you know, the amount of money that people actually have to live their lives with.
So when will you determine when you're going to premiere?
Well, as you know, you're a television veteran.
Yep.
It depends on actually what outlet, what distribution model we go with as to when we will be out. Sometimes that is in our hands, other times it's not in our hands. Mm-hmm. That depends on what model that we come with. But we definitely want to be out there within a couple of months.
Mm-hmm. And until then, are you still accepting proposals for people who eventually want to be on the show, or you will say, let's wait till we get on the air and then we'll get a second round going? We
definitely are still accepting proposals. So again, thestartuphour.com, there's an entrepreneur page that you can go to, and I think there's about 8 or 9 original questions on there. We have folks send in up to a 4-minute video so we can see what they look like and how they come across on video, etc. And it's a pretty easy process, pretty straightforward.
We have another call. Let's take it. Hello, you're on Tomorrow Be Televised. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Simon. It's Rick West calling from Philadelphia.
Rick, you're on the line with Jonathan. We have a few more minutes to go, so go right in.
What's up, Rick?
Hey, Jonathan. I just wondered, are there any protections for the consumers that call in to invest, or especially with your text investing? Is there any way to protect against, like, perhaps a 5-year-old child investing $100,000 in like a lingerie company or something?
Oh, that's a pretty talented child. Yes, we have a lot of steps for security, and like I said a little bit earlier, the broker-dealers that we work with, they're the ones that actually vet these companies officially. And as to our mobile technology, it's extremely secure, and we have a lot of different walls and channels to go through to actually get an approved investment in. And actually, if the cap is already filled and someone tries to make an investment and they don't get it, then they'll receive a text back that lets them know that. And we need some companies from Philly, Rick. So if you got any friends that are in the startup world, please spread the love, spread the word, because I'm a big fan of Philly. Philly's been good to me over the years, so we'd love to have some companies from there.
Awesome. It sounds great. I'll definitely spread the word.
Are you a founder? Are you do you have a startup?
I'm more in television production, so perhaps a TV, small television studio production or something like that. But definitely not like a one-off or any inventions right now.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate the call, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Simon.
You're welcome. All the best. Thanks for being part of our anniversary show, too. It's appreciated. Rick Webb joining us live from Philadelphia. The Startup Hour will premiere in the near future on stations all over the country in syndication. So when it happens, check your local listings for the station and time in your area, or you can head right now to thestartuphour.com. That's thestartuphour.com, online for those details. And if you have a new business venture in the television field that you want to get on that program, it will tell you how. Jonathan Block, creator, executive producer of the Startup Hour, thanks again for joining us, especially on our anniversary show. It's appreciated, and good luck as an entrepreneur with your venture. And let's hope along the way it helps a lot of TV entrepreneurs accomplish what they want to do in their life.
That's what we're looking to do. Thank you very much. Appreciate you having us in.
Absolutely. Take care. All the greatest.
You too.